Welcome back to the plant room. If you can believe it, it's been 6 months already since we moved in, so time to update you on a few things. Morning sun coming into the plant room. Time to get the light turned on. Wake up, babies. We've got work to do. Old plants that need to be repotted, as well as some new plants that, well, need an introduction to say the least. And our first hurricane we've been managing. So let's dive into some plant transitions. Starting out with the Boston Fern. This baby I have had since 2015 when the girls were just kittens. And sadly, it's been in the same pot ever since. You see some dying leaves underneath there, and it's just been begging for a haircut. So now that it's been in Florida for 6 months, that time has come. It had almost created a substrate down in there with other leaves falling from above. And she'll get a new pot soon. This girl been needing a haircut. Next up is the Thanksgiving cactus. Some of you might say, I thought that was a Christmas cactus. Well, listen and learn. All right, workspace is ready. Let's dive in. First one we have today is a Thanksgiving cactus. So many people don't know the difference between a Thanksgiving cactus, a Christmas cactus, and an Easter cactus. This one you can tell because the leaves are very jagged and pointy, and that is what makes it a Thanksgiving cactus. Your Christmas cactus has much more rounded edges to its leaves, but they have the similar shape. They're just not pointy. So that's why they are commonly confused. And then your Easter cactus is more like scalloped. It's very different. So this bad boy is probably, 8 years old, somewhere around there. It's been repotted once into this. It was smaller, and it did, as you can see, evidence, it bloomed. Right before we moved from Indiana, I finally figured out where it wanted cold weather and kind of less direct light, and it was loving life, and then I decided to move it to Florida. So we're gonna up pot it today. It's not a whole lot bigger, but you don't want to shock your plants when you up pot them either. So this one kind of fits inside here a little bit. So see, it's going to get more around space as well as up space. And give it more room to flourish. I think there's been parts of it that I was worried were kind of diseased. See how that's like a little wrinkly? And I don't know, this is just really soft and flimsy as opposed to this nice, strong green growth. So hoping the repot will help it with its new rejuvenation efforts. Let's go. In most of my pots, I am using a little mixture of outdoor soil with Miracle-Gro's indoor potting mix. Love that root ball. This one just came out so easy. Reason that I'm using the Miracle-Gro indoor specifically is that it does help to reduce fungus gnats occurrence. All right, final result, and it's much bigger home. Only had one little piece fall off. And planted it in there, so I think we'll be in good shape. Stay tuned, hopefully it's blooming by Thanksgiving. And next up, again, flashback to Indiana, where this thing just grew one single woody stalk. This gold dust Croton I showed you guys early in my plant room tour, and it finally started to sprout some along the bottom. And it's got 2 new stalks growing up. So excited, so excited. Instead of just one skinny piece, we'll now have 3 at least. Since moving it to Florida, it sprouted 2 noobs, and they're growing really quickly. I actually just snipped the top of this guy yesterday. Read some information that they will grow bushier if you top them off. So I've done that, and I want to give it some room to grow since it's now got 3 versus 1. Here's the piece I cut off yesterday and should grow roots within 3 to 6 weeks. So stay tuned for that. I'll probably put it in its own pot since this one will be pretty much filling that one up. They're not quite ready for dirt. That won't happen until they're about 2 inches long, but hey, growth is growth. That one came out very simply and easily. Got it in the new pot. I'm confident it was going to respond well. Lastly, the Brasil Philodendron. Maybe my favorite plant that I've got in my collection just because of how enormous it grew in our old home. As you can see, since we've moved it to Florida, it's been showing such great colors. I just really haven't been able to bring myself to mess with it. But I know that it's root bound, so here we go. Okay, I will admit to being a little intimidated on this one. Hi, Squirt. This is my Brasil Philodendron that I showed you all from the old house that had grown, gosh, probably 30 feet long. So she's had a few haircuts since we've been here, has responded really well to all of them. My Instagram has some good photos that I captured, different parts of the lights. We've got a whole lot of propagations because she spits out a lot of different colors, variations, but each one kind of prettier than the last. So, been enjoying it, but she's been in this pot for way too long. I know that she's root bound as all get out, so we're going to be moving her into this. So we got a much larger pot for her to go into and spread her wings. And we'll see if this hook means that one of these days she'll go outside, but for now it's just a new home that is long overdue. Wish us luck. Just had to get it up in here with this little baby shovel. Went all the way around the edges so that I know it's gonna slide out a little bit easier. The last one that I had that was in the same type of pot for just as many years was this grape ivy up here. I did it a couple of weeks ago, and oh, it's responding so well. I see dozens of places with fantastic new growth. Definitely some good inspiration for getting this next repotting done. Because look how happy it is. Just as much hope for this lady. Just all of this growth, it's so hardy. I mean, you can see how old some of these vines are, as well as the variegation on them. I mean, it's just beautiful. All right, let's do this. Okay, so it was a fight like the other one. You see down inside there, some of the roots that were like cemented on here. I was taking the shovel and pushing it down along the sides. You could hear it pulling it away from the siding. But she's in. Let's take a look at the bottom because, oh wow. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Normally with a root ball like that, you want to try and break it up and pull as much of it down and out of the root ball as you can so that it will spread out more easily. But this thing was just so solid, it wasn't happening. It'll do it on its own. Well, my phone died midway through that, but all you really missed was me filling in the edges and kind of trying to get up under as many of the leaves as I could with new dirt. Just to, again, feed it a little bit and help it get happy in its new home. Kind of untangled a few of these on top. There were maybe 3 of them, 1, 2, and one other one tucked in somewhere, that broke off in the midst. I don't know if they were just barely hanging on by a thread. I didn't hear any snaps, but there they were. So I replanted them, even without roots. Probably a bad idea, but we'll see what happens. I think it's all gonna be happy though. Yay! Some of the most beautiful cuttings I had taken, I have rooting in water. So in the coming weeks or months, I will eventually get them into their own pots, so that way I have two amazing Brasil Philodendrons over time. And these were two cuttings that I got at our fish club meeting. The polka dot begonia has been doing really well since being in its own pot. This beauty is a moonlight philodendron. Got it at a club meeting, and look how neon its new leaves are. I love it. So it's happy in its new home. This one's just unfurling. Give it some time. It is going to be exciting to see it grow. Just found a new bonus. My mom gave me this prayer plant that she's had at her house for a while now. I'm looking on the other side. And these are red leaves. We've got two different prayer plants living in here, so get excited, folks. New prayer plant coming soon, in addition to the green maranta I've always had. Green maranta is what you're seeing primarily, but if you got a good eye, down inside here, we have a red maranta. So my mom had told me she had two different ones that she put together. Crazy me thought they would be the same, so this was super exciting. You can see the red veins on this one, so it's gonna get its own pot, but there's also kind of two portions of it. If I can get this out of the way enough, you'll see got kind of one main one here that's a little small, and then one bigger, more prolific one here. So they're going to go into the two pots that we just took the cactus and the croton out of. Well, I'll say that did not go as planned. They were rooted in way deeper than I expected them to be. And so I did have to just kind of pull and hear the snap of some really healthy roots. But number one here, it's got some nice leaf, nice variation, and some new starts. And then the second one here, I didn't realize until I was potting it up that it was two. I thought it was just one little section here, but there were two. So each pot has two new little growths. This one's in the middle of shooting out a new leaf. I really hope it makes it. So far they're looking pretty good, but here I'm just topping off where I created those holes in the original pot, so that way it doesn't suffer whatsoever from what was pulled out of it. And this is an Australian tree fern. Lucas picked it up at the farmer's market one day. He was super excited because it was so big and lush, and oh, this thing's gonna be amazing. Well, we put it inside our house, in our bedroom actually, and after about 3 days, the leaves that were on it all started to crisp up. We knew we were doing something dreadfully wrong within 3 days, so we checked the internet, and boy, if you keep it as an indoor plant, you've got to mist this thing every day. It loves humidity, and you can't overwater it. So he bought this big bucket to put it in, and so far they've said, you know, having it with water around it on rocks is a good thing. So we'll see. We know it needs more root ball space, but since we brought it outside, this whole new frond has come out. This whole new frond just came out in the last week. This guy is growing out. I'd say within 3-4 days, it's gonna look similar to this one. It's crazy how this thing grows. We've got another new one coming out the bottom, and it looks like another two right behind it. That's how they grow, is straight up out the middle. And it will begin to grow up like a stalk as these kind of die off on the sides. So it will have a trunk and kind of these big fronds out the top. It says it doesn't like a lot of direct sun. Where we are, this is the east where the sun rises, so it really only gets this direct sun for about 3-4 hours of the day, and then it goes up and over the house. And here a little montage of its journey. It has been a little bit of a struggle bus, but it still keeps showing signs of new growth, and I just am persistent. So I will continue to keep you all updated. After the hurricane, it definitely has taken another turn downhill because the air has been so dry. Here it is in its most recent state. But speaking of hurricanes, when your local grocery store has metal shutters, you know it's getting serious. When you're as far from Tampa as Fort Myers was, you got to take precautions. But here's what we woke up to the morning that we found out it had turned south towards Fort Myers. If it had taken just as far of a turn north, it would have come right at us. So, I mean, we're fortunate, but at the same time, I was just in shock. We watched as most of the other cities that we had looked at homes in just got pummeled by this storm. The wind kept increasing, and we just continued to hear that rain was coming within the next hour, within the next hour, within the next hour. It just continued to update, but the rain never came. I don't know if that's just dust or rain in the distance. It was definitely dust. As the sun set on Hurricane Day 1, we knew it was still going across the middle of the state. It's like a dust bowl. It's just hazy. Just out watering the garden in hurricane force winds. My trusty steed and my sidekick. Edible food was brought up onto the porch, empty pots, and I moved these back from the edge to hopefully give them some windbreak. We just had really high sustained winds for 2 straight days, and then got an amazing sunset. We're definitely grateful, and we'll update you on how the garden's doing on my next video. Thanks for watching.